Hi everyone, welcome into this week's My Weekly CBS Fix. Hope you had a wonderful week. This week's video is dedicated to a dear friend, Rabbi Akiva Pollack. In case you guys haven't heard yet, he is moving out of Philadelphia, moving on to Passaic. We wish him much hatzlacha, and I personally just want to thank you for giving me the position with Raje, allowed me to meet all the Raje students. So thank you very much. Been an eye-opener for me, a life opener. Thank you for the opportunity. In this week's Parsha, Parsha Raje, I just want to share with you two quick ideas. We're moving out of the month of Av, in which the temple was destroyed. Just want to share with you two ideas, possibly bring us into the Rosh Hashanah mindset as well. So in this week's Parsha, the Torah is saying that when we come to the land of Israel, we have to make sure to get rid of any vestige of idol worship that the Canaanites over there were serving over there. And the Torah goes on to say that Lo yisasen kein LaHashem lekechem. You should not do that to your God. Do what? So the Torah says when you go into the land, to get rid of all their altars, and you have to get rid of all their idols, but don't do that to Hashem. So what does that mean? That means there are altars that were used in the temple as well, and there's a prohibition for anybody to dismantle one of the altars. So the Talmud quotes Rabbi Yishmael, who says, is it possible that a Jew would even think about dismantling one of the altars? So Rabbi Yishmael answers, the Talmud answers that, of course, we won't physically take it apart, but we shouldn't do anything that would cause the temple to be destroyed, that ultimately causes the altar to be taken apart by the enemies of the Jewish people, who would then go in and take it apart, which means it's our responsibility to make sure to follow in Hashem's ways, because if we don't and we start sinning, then when Hashem's Beis HaMikdash is destroyed, we're responsible for that, and anything that's there gets destroyed. That was one idea I want to share with you. So in this month of Av, we're past Tisha B'Av, the 9th day of Av, in which the temple was destroyed, but nevertheless, we shouldn't leave those lessons in the past. We have to still remind ourselves that the Beis HaMikdash is not with us, and we have to do whatever we can in order to, we should merit to see it speedily be rebuilt in our days. Another idea is when it comes to the laws of kosher. So the Torah tells us that, as we discussed in the past, there's 4 animals. You have to be careful, the 2 signs of a kosher animal, and that is it chews its cud, and it also has split hooves in the front and the bottom. And there's 4 animals, however, they have to be more careful of, because they only have one of the 2 signs. Some only have the fact that they chew their cud, and like the camel and the rabbit, and then you also have the pig that doesn't chew its cud but has split hooves. You have to be careful with those 4 animals. So aside the fact that we mentioned, you see from over here that's obviously the Torah is divine, because it only has 4 animals. Back then, 2,500 years ago, which human being could have known all the animals in the world? So that aside, another thing we have to ask is, if the Torah just wants to tell us to be careful from it, all the Torah had to say was, but be careful from the pig. You know why? It's not kosher because it doesn't chew its cud. It only has split hooves. Now, why does the Torah have to tell us that it has split hooves, but it doesn't chew its cud? It should just say you can't eat the pig because it doesn't chew its cud. Why does it have to focus also on the fact that it has split hooves? And same thing with the camel. Why does the Torah need to say it chews its cud, but it doesn't have split hooves? Why does it have to mention that it does chew its cud? Well, it doesn't matter. Just say the fact that it doesn't have split hooves. So the answer I heard from Rabbi Noach Weinberg, who started the Isha Torah Yeshiva that many of you have gone to visit, so he stated as follows. You see over here a Torah maxim, a Torah idea, that even if we're going to state that something is no good, you should first realize that there is something good to it. Which means the pig is not kosher because it doesn't chew its cud, but keep in mind that something good that it does have. Look for the good things. Look for the good signs in it, that it does have split hooves. And so therefore, the lesson, of course, he extended it to people, that sometimes we're so quick to judge, this person's no good because of that, this person's no good because of that. And we have to realize that even if a person may actually not be good, but we have to realize that person still has a neshama, a soul. That person still has good qualities. That person still gives charity. That person still does this, still does that. That means even if we may find a time and we may need to actually rebuke somebody or to admonish somebody for something, that doesn't mean that that should be in our mind who they are and what they are. And again, we're trying to get out of the month of Av with a lot of these lessons, and we know the temple was destroyed because of sinas chinam, and baseless hatred only happens when we only view people with a very narrow perspective, and we don't view them for the big picture, for who they are, and the good qualities that they do have, which allows us to, yes, give rebuke, and yes, to admonish people and tell them what they might be doing wrong, but from a completely different perspective, from a perspective of love and from a perspective of realization that this person is full of amazingness as well at the same time. Right now, they may not be kosher, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're completely knocked off. We have to, like we said, they're completely ugefrigt. Doesn't mean that they're completely knocked out of the picture. So we can take this into Rosh Hashanah as well, because we always begging Hashem for a good year. So Hashem says, okay, the way to do that is to be happy and to be smiling at other people and to make other people feel amazing. But if your view of people is always like, he's no good, she's no good, he's no good, they're no good, that's not really such a great idea. But anyway, so thank you for listening. Rabbi Akiva Pollack, much hatzlach and psek with your new position with Raje. And thank you always for listening. Take care. Have a great Shabbos. And